Alright, greetings my fellow freedom loving sovereign thinkers. This is LL3's newest podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful Beehive State, which is known as Utah. And today's date, Wednesday, September 16th, 2015. Oh yeah, I'm still in this town called Roy, which is half hour north of Salt Lake City. It is nice and chilly out here, 50 degrees to be exact. Or 49, according to AccuWeather.com. And if I'm correct, there is a real flood advisory. Oh my goodness. I'm still outside, but I guess I enjoy this kind of weather. Like the temperature is really beautiful. And I know people in South Florida and southern states are probably sweating their tails off. And you have my condolences, of course. So I'm just going to make this one pretty brief. I'm not going to go too crazy. This has been busy for the past almost week since my last podcast, and I do apologize for that once again. And so I'm going to be hitting mostly Florida stuff and commentary. So I just got this out today, like an hour ago, and this came from the TampaBayTimes.com. It's entitled "Criminal Justice Committees Pass Concealed Carry on Campus Residential Guns Shooting Bill." This is by Michael Oslin. And it says here, 2 pieces of legislation backed by National Rifle Association cleared House and Senate criminal justice panels Wednesday, including a high controversial proposal to allow concealed weapons on college campuses. They were first bills passed by any committee for the legislative session that begins in January. Supporters of the campus concealed carry bill by Representative Greg Steube, Republican from Sarasota, and Greg Evers, Republican from Baker, which passed both House Criminal Justice Subcommittee and Senate Criminal Justice Committee, with all but one Republican supporting it and every Democrat opposed. It's about public safety. Concealed carry permit holders could keep campuses safe in the event of a mass shooting or other violent crime. But the bill, HB 4001 SB 68, has drawn ire from state university presidents and police chiefs at the State University Systems Board of Governors, as well as gun control advocates. It will allow anyone with a concealed carry permit to bring their gun with them to a college or university. When I applied to UCF, I wasn't expecting to walk the halls and attend class, wondering if a person next to me was trained to carry a firearm, said Adam Whitmer, a former Marine and instructor in the Corps firearm training. College campuses are high-tension places. They were full of young people who are stressed and trying to learn about the world and themselves, opponents argue, not to mention the drug and alcohol use that's so prevalent in universities. Allow them to go to college and place they can make mistakes, said Sean Pittman, lobbyist for the Florida State University Student Government Association. This is a place they become adults. Those mistakes shouldn't be deadly. Right now, 20 states, including Florida, ban concealed weapons on all colleges' campus. Another 23 each allow each university or college to decide to its own gun policies. An attempt to pass the bill last year stalled in the Senate Judiciary Committee. Supporters say they believe that allowing concealed carry permit holders to bring their weapons with them on campus will increase safety. Permit holders must undergo background checks. FSU Shayna Lopez Rivas, a rape victim, said she would feel safer if she were allowed to carry her gun on campus. It is the same argument made by Representative Michelle Rodrigo Valzinda, one of few Democrats in the legislature who support the bill last spring, who said she used a gun to stop a would-be attacker when she was a college student. I resolved never to be a victim again, Lopez Rivas said. I will not be a sitting duck for a rapist or a shooter. Rape and assault are illegal, and yet they still happen to me. Those who intend to commit a crime will do so regardless of it's legal or not, they say. The plain truth is campuses are supposed to be gun-free zones, said Marion Hammer, a lobbyist with the National Rifle Association, which supports the concealed carry bill. There are gun-free zones where murderers, rapists, shooters can commit crimes without fear of being harmed by their victims. Hammer was also key to negotiation on a bill HB 41 SB 130, making it a misdemeanor to fire a weapon in densely populated neighborhood for recreation or celebration. It is also supported by the Florida Police Chiefs Association, which unanimously passed criminal justice panel in both the House and Senate. The bill was first filed by Representative Darrell Rosen, Democrat from St. Petersburg, last spring in response to a St. Petersburg man who set up a gun range in his yard, which neighbors feel which put them at risk of being accidentally shot. Police couldn't charge Joseph Crananat with a crime, but because it determined his intent to fire a gun wasn't illegal. Under the new proposal sponsored by Rosen, Neil Comby, Republican, Polk County in the House, and Senate Garrett Richard, Republican, Naples, it still won't be. The gun has to be fired and clear 2 exemptions for personal protection and for something that wouldn't reasonably put someone at risk, like a homeowner shooting a poisonous snake that has slithered into the neighborhood, said Richter. So, this got passed at 1:12 p.m. So about a little over 2 hours ago, this occurred. It's passed, but I've always examined things very thoroughly, and a person like myself is proud to be pro-self-defense, pro-gun, pro-Bill of Rights, Declaration of Rights, etc. And always tell people, and I learned from Mark Walters to be exact, which he's spot on American radio, like when you carry a firearm, you have a higher standard, which I fully agree. You have a responsibility when you carry those particular tools on you. And what's interesting, because I remember my last podcast, I talked about the FSU said you weren't allowed to own a firearm because of a certain statute, which totally contradicts what they were addressing. You can probably hit my past podcast, you can look it up on the footnotes. I was going to say damn you do or damn you don't. One thing about firearm-free zones, mass shootings happen. And that is very disturbing. We could talk about Sandy Hook, which many of us know that it was. We don't know how accurate that is, but we can just say it was a firearm-free zone. So did 9/11. So there were some of the shootings that happened in FSU, if I'm correct. There were firearm-free zones. It doesn't work. People have responsibility. There's more responsible people that own firearms than than criminals. Okay, that's a fact. 2.5 million cases were used to protect themselves, families, property, loved ones, strangers, or by innocent bystanders, etc. in the United States. The gun control fiends don't want you to know that, because they know it hurts them. They're desperate. Of course, you have kids gotta have stress, but you know what? You gotta look at everything broader. And we all know too, if I'm correct, it's Florida Statute 768.28 on the sovereign immunity and tort liability, that no public employees are immune to lawsuits when it comes to police protection, for an example, because they are considered public employees. And you can look at that, and plus Wong versus the City of Miami. So, in good faith, even the campus police and FSU and the police chief knows the law enforcers in those campuses aren't obligated to protect you as an individual. Just look it up. Florida Statutes 768.28 or Wong versus City of Miami, which occurred in 1970 by the Florida Supreme Court. Just giving you those facts. And you can look it up. Don't be shy. I have to put it on my footnotes. I've done it so many times. But definitely check that out. And I'll say this. We'll see how far this thing goes. And you know what? In good faith, I like to see this happen honorably. And here's another thing too, folks. Crime and right to carry, and committing a crime with a firearm are two separate entities. Plain and simple. And you know what? I'll say this. People are tired of being shot at. How about the folks, too, at these school shootings and so forth? How many of them were SSRI cases? I think the state of Florida needs to focus on that. And so I might have to do a little homework on it to see if they are. But that's to everyone in this country and the world should focus on that as well. But definitely, I am pro self-defense. And I tell you one thing, criminals will think twice. Guarantee you that. May not be perfect, but you know what? They have to really think before they do. When it comes to firearm-free zones, they're saying, hey, I'm invited to take people out without a problem. Criminals always don't care about laws. Honorable people do. So this is why, in good faith and honorably, do support those bills. If you live in Florida, look at everything further. Look at the language. Don't rely on the bobbleheads or the lobbyist groups, including NRA. I'm not crucifying them all the time. I'm critical at times with them, but in this area, I have to respect them on this point. Have their pros and cons like every other group. So support the right for self-defense. And remember, if this happens, if your folks carry, use it when it's necessary. There's other ways of handling situations when it comes to a crime, but as a last resort. That's how I see it, when it's necessary. And I will move on from here. Next, another Florida-related article came from Joe Reedy from Associated Press, came from the Miami Herald to be exact. It says here, Florida bill to repeal ban on shacking up takes first step. Shacking up together could finally become legal in Florida after 147 years. House Criminal Justice Subcommittee voted 10-3 on Wednesday to approve a bill to repeal the prohibition on cohabitation, which has been on the books since 1868. It is a $500 fine and up to 60 days in jail if a man and woman are living together. Florida, Michigan, and Mississippi are the only states that still have laws on the books that makes cohabitation illegal. According to 2010 census data, there are nearly 449,000 unmarried couples among the state's 7.4 million households. This bill is sponsored by Democratic Michelle Warinko Villasanda of Tallahassee. It will head to the Judiciary Committee next. A similar bill was proposed last year but died in the committee. Very interesting on this, on cohabitation. Actually, I just looked it up. I'm like, wow, very interesting. So, cohabitation can be a crime. But the question is, I have to say, to those particular states, including Florida, which I proudly live, who is the victim? I say no victim, no crime. And two things I could tell you, which on first I could use on the state level, the federal level, is the Ninth Amendment, enumerated rights. Okay? And two other sections from Article 1 of the Florida Constitution, basic rights, natural rights are considered natural born rights considered inalienable, and Article 1, Section 23, the right to privacy. The government cannot interfere, if you know what I'm saying. None of their business. So you could definitely look those up as well. You can definitely look those up. But I think it is a time that people could live together in a consensual manner. And, honorably, like if in the biblical view, Like it has to be a wife or husband. Yeah, which is, I respect that. I'm not going to condemn. I'm not going to condemn it, or I do support it respectfully, but you cannot legislate on who you can live with, by consenting adults. So, I guess I will support it in good faith on this one. You got to get rid of it, man. No victim, no crime. If it's still in the books, you remember what we got? Jury nullification. There's another thing. It can be stopped as well, my friends. So, that's I just get a big kick out of these things, yeah? All right. Well, next one here came from the Washington Times, came out today. It's Ashton Carter. It says, Russia, China closing military tech gap with the U.S. And it goes on here. Defense Secretary Ashton Carter on Wednesday warned Russia and China are quickly closing the military technology gap with the U.S. as inconsistent military budgets and slower innovation threatens America's lead in the military world. Our technology remains the best. At the same time, we can't ignore the overall trend. High-end military technologies long possessed by only the most advanced foes are finding their way into the hands of both non-state and previously much less capable militaries. Mr. Carter said in a speech at an Air Force Association annual conference outside of Washington, D.C., Defense News reported. It is evident that nations like Russia and China have been pursuing military modernization programs to close the technology gap with the United States, he continued. They're developing platforms designed to thwart our traditional advantages of power projection and freedom of movement. They're developing and fielding new and advanced aircraft and ballistic cruise anti-ships and anti-air missiles that are longer range and more accurate. Mr. Carter's comments reflect U.S. concerns over Russia's military buildup in Syria in recent weeks in support of President Bashar al-Assad's regime. Meanwhile, China continues to cause controversy over its land grabs in the South China Sea. Mr. Carter said the Pentagon is taking prudent steps to deal with China and affirmed that the U.S. will fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows, regardless of China's claims over newly created lands to expand its territories in the region, Defense News reported. He said the U.S. seeks to ensure all nations have the opportunity to continue to rise in the Asia-Pacific region. Well, I have to say this to Secretary Carter. You love exercising an empire. Oh, goody. Yep, the eyes of Julius Caesar. This is why I find this very discouraging, my friends. We have to protect the world. You know what? The world's need to start protecting themselves. Tired of this foreign aid, which is still continued redistribution of wealth, which the people that support the foreign aid to certain nations said is we're against socialism, but on distribution of wealth when it comes to socialism, but when it comes to foreign aid on certain nations, it is okay. That is called double speak. So, I don't know why we have to go around what international law allows. I have to say this. Let our military defend our republic, not an empire. Get out of NATO. Get out of the UN. Because as far as I'm concerned, it's contaminating space. If Mr. Carter don't like it, well, too confoundedly bad. Because then why? A lot of people are waking up to this stuff and this whole military competition, and you believe our money should go to murdering innocent people and telling other countries what to do. Forget about it. There's a thing called blowback, a CIA term. Great book, by the way, by Mr. Johansson himself. Check it out, Blowback. Hit the library. You'll be surprised. Something that the neocons and neolibs don't want you to know. So you know what I say? Say yes to a republic and no to an empire. Bring all of our troops home. Let them defend our nation and our territories if the other nations want us there. Other people in those territories want us there. I'll be very fair. So let's go by that. And we don't have to deal with this garbage about how can we sail around and so forth. So it's a possible fear factor, in my view, and in good faith, to rack up more money for the military-industrial complex. And you know what? That's all I'm going to say. Alright, next one here came from Zero Hedge. Actually, a friend of mine from Facebook was really angry about this. And so he sent it out. And it's hitting ABC, hitting the mainstream media and all that. It says here, a 14-year-old Texan, Ahmad Muhammad, arrested for a homemade clock because it looks like a bomb. Do 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 do. Yep, I am using parodies on here. So let's just see what Big Brother have to say. This is submitted by Tyler Durden, 16th. That's today. Says here, a perfect storm of Islamophobia and technophobia, as Wired Marcus Wilson so eloquently put it, has erupted in Texas, where high school freshman Ahmad Muhammad was arrested Monday after bringing a homemade digital clock to MacArthur High. A teacher at the Irving School exclaimed, "It looks like a bomb," resulting in a call to police. By mid-afternoon, police were leading the boy out in handcuffs and taking him to a juvenile detention center on suspicion of making a hoax bomb. Thought criminality, kinda, sorta, it's the only way. As Mike Krieger sums up so perfectly, America is a deeply fallen nation. Good stuff, by the way, by Blitzkrieg. You should always check this out. In his own words, as Liberty Blitzkrieg's Michael Krieger details, police detained a 14-year-old Muslim boy after a teacher at his North Texas high school decided that a homemade clock he proudly brought to class looked like a bomb, according to school and police officials. The family of Ahmad Muhammad said the boy was suspended for 3 days from MacArthur High School in the Dallas suburb of Irving after taking the clock to class on Monday. The boy makes his own radios, repairs his own go-kart, and on Sunday spent about 20 minutes before bedtime assembling a clock using a circuit board, power supply, wired to a digital display, and other items, the Dallas Morning News reported. From ABC News article, Muslim boy 14 detained for making clock mistaken for bomb. Okay. As it says here, America is a deeply fallen nation. I don't know how obvious it has become before people come to grips and start to do something about it. We haven't decayed into this tepid abyss of more immorality and decadence because of illegal immigrants, no matter what a two-bit demagogue preaching to desperate hordes infected with what Huxley referred to as herd poisonings tells you. It's entirely our own fault. We've allowed criminals and professional crony capitalists take control of the reins of power, and rather than fight against them, we aspire to become them. We have allowed them to scare us into submission by exploiting the tragic events of 9/11 to consolidate the world's wealth into increasingly small number of hands. Immigrants didn't do this. We did it. Or at the very least, we allow it to happen. I harbor nostalgia for the days when Americans were merely ridiculed as being obese. McDonald's eating slobs, ignorant of world affairs. We aren't viewed with this combination of amusement and endearment any longer. Rather, the world now shudders with a mixture of disgust and horror and contemplation of what we have become. A decadent, clownish, wealth-obsessed, corrupt, aggressive, warmongering multitude of brainwashed imperial subjects. Worse yet, it is not just ignorance anymore. There appear to be idolization of anti-intellectualism running rampart, something on a full display as of late. The arrogance of Donald Trump as a uniquely America strongman savior. Not only this is stupid, it's pathetic and dangerous. America used to celebrate its eccentrics, the strange, creative iconoclasts who, when allowed to will generally change society for the better. In modern America, we put them in handcuffs. To illustrate this point, here's an excerpt from my 2013 post, Remembering Internet Prodigy and Activist Aaron Swartz, 1986 to 2013. Your life is an inspiration. Despite this horrible tragedy based on the outpouring of disgust even from the mainstream media, I am optimistic that Aaron's death might actually represent a turning point, an event that can shake up people out of their normalcy bias and force them to accept that sad reality that have been loath to admit, that our criminal justice system has been completely and totally co-opted by a ruthless, greedy, and immoral oligarch class that seems hell-bent on throwing the American public into a neo-feudal nightmare of debt, slavery, and ignorance. Aaron was a treasure and a gift to the species, and only a very sick and dying culture would have led to his premature end. We must look at ourselves in the mirror, accept this reality, and change it immediately. Unfortunately, not much has changed in these 2.5 years. Our populace remains as fearful, paranoid, and slavish as ever. More destitute, more desperate, more confused than ever before. Feverishly searching for a weak group to blame, and self-satisfied with their slobbering support for a casino billionaire who has provided an easy target. This is the culture that attacked and killed Aaron Swartz, and it's the culture that led to the arrest of a brilliant 14-year-old boy for building a homemade clock. From ABC News, police detained a 14-year-old Muslim boy after teaching at his North High School. Decided that a homemade clock he proudly brought to class looked like a bomb, according to school and police officials. Family of Ahmad Muhammad said the boy was suspended for 3 days from MacArthur High School in the Dallas suburb of Irving after taking the clock to class on Monday. The boy makes his own radios, repairs go-karts. I think it says it's very similar before. Yes. So, exactly. So I'll just repeat it. Why not? The boy makes his own radios, repairs his own go-kart, and Sunday spent on 20 minutes before bedtime assembling a clock using a circuit board power supply wired to a digital display and other items. The Dallas Morning News reported. The school district said in a statement that Ahmad was detained by police. Irving police spokesman James McAllen told the Morning News that the police are determined whether to file a charge of making a hoax bomb. I'd like to tell you this, police spokesman James McAllen. Would you like to have an I Love Mao Tae-sung blow-up doll for Christmas? And some of your cohorts and those yahoos at the school? Yeah. Mao Tae-sung blow-up dolls or I Love Mao Tae-sung button. Which ones you want? Sorry about that. This is so typical of the U.S. power structure. Rather than admitting fault for traumatizing a little boy for being particularly smart, they regroup in order to charge him with an invented crime. So what's the lessons learned by Ahmad? The inventiveness and eccentricity are not only unappreciated in America, but that exhibiting such traits is dangerous. In contrast, when members of the so-called elite commit systematic theft and embark upon countless unnecessary and devastating wars abroad, they are rewarded with unimaginable wealth. This is the incentive structure in modern America, and it's precisely why the country has morphed into little more than a neo-feudal imperial banana republic. For a little more, here's some coverage from the New York Times. A high school student in Texas whose body was invented thought he had a unique idea for a project to build his own clock, but the effort landed him in handcuffs and juvenile detention accused of making a hoax bomb. When Ahmad Muhammad, 14, brought a clock to MacArthur High School in Irving, Texas, on Monday, an engineer teacher suggested that he not show the invention to other teachers, but it beeped during an English class, prompting Ahmad to show his English teacher what it was, according to an account in the Dallas Morning News. In a video posted, there was a video link down there on the newspaper's website, Ahmad described how he was taken from school by the police. They took me to a room filled with 5 officers, he said. They interrogated me and searched through my stuff and took my tablet and my invention. He said he was fingerprinted and mugshots were taken at the juvenile detention, so he was released with his parents came to retrieve him. It made me feel like a criminal, he said. He was suspended for 3 days. It could reasonably be mistaken as a device it left in the bathroom or under a car. The concern was, what was this thing built for? Do we take him into custody? Read this line again and again and again until you get it. The concern was, what was this thing built for? Perhaps it was built for curiosity and passion, or perhaps it was just the spontaneous product of a creative and brilliant mind. So what? Why does it have to be built for a specific purpose? Instead of celebrating such a bright young boy, we criminalize him. It is a symptom of a very sick and twisted society. In his classic novel, 1984, George Orwell was, if you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on a human face forever. He was wrong. It actually looked like this. He had a Nassau shirt on. A mad arrest occurred in Texas, a state so proud of its small government stance, yet bizarrely ground zero for a multitude of statist practices. And I am just absolutely infuriated. And I recommend the state of Texas and the district attorney to drop this case immediately, or if not, we will be getting the Denver DA Morrissey treatment. Your victimless crime law is unacceptable and downright treasonous, and I'm pretty damn serious. You are aiding and comforting the enemy if you're going to prosecute this young man, regardless of his race, color, creed, etc. What's your claim? 9/11 was a 24/7 excuse for everything? Absolutely not. That's pathetic. Weak and pathetic people that assumed that this kid was a criminal. What, he brought a clock into school? What, quote, he's a Muslim, he's gonna be a suicide bomber? Give me a break. Let me tell you clowns out there that support this arrest. You are less patriotic, less honorable than Benedict Arnold will ever be. Okay? Like I said before, you are less patriotic than Benedict Arnold. At least he was more of a man than you jerk-offs will ever be. And the ladies, too, that support this arrest of this gentleman named Ahmaud Muhammad. And people who are jurors in this case, remember this. Once again, no victim, no crime. Nullify. Even though it's a juvenile court. I don't know if they're going to try him as an adult. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the Texas criminal law, to be very sincere. So I am a little bit ignorant of that, but at least I will take the initiative on learning these things. That's why when a friend of mine sent this to me, he was the blood boil. I can't blame him. And to be honest, I have debates with some of my people I love, okay? Political debates. But you know what? When it comes to this, we all have something in common. It's totally unacceptable. It's nothing more than a monumental lie. Cater to the weak and the pathetic and financially productive is unacceptable. And if the DA pursue this, you're nothing more than a contemptuous coward. And I don't care if you get this or someone sends this to you. Please, you can email me, contact me anytime. My show is open to the public. I'm not hiding whatsoever. So you know what? You better drop it. Kinda, sort of means no. We don't need any more Uncle Toms and Aunt Jemimas to tyranny. It's contaminating our vision, our natural born rights, and being productive. That's enough of that. Finally, and you can probably hear the rain out there. That's okay. This is from C4SS.org. Originally, I got this from on my Twitter account through antiwar.com. Great site, man. Check them out. Support them. Spread that message. They are spot on when it comes to imperialism. This one says here, never forget 9/11 for the state. Blowback is a feature. Not a Bug. It's by Kevin Carson. And it says here, every year we're subject to another world of mawkish, smarmy 9/11 memorial ceremonies whose main purpose is to maintain loyalty to the very national security state whose aggression brought the terror attacks of September 11 on us in the first place. It is all part of an endless cycle. Repeated over and over, dating back to the late 70s. 1. Criminal, aggressive intervention overseas by the America's national security state. 2. The ensuing destabilization from that intervention results in terrorist blowback to the people of the United States. 3. Leaders of the United States the American state take advantage of the terrorist attacks by waving bloody shirts to manipulate the public and supporting a new wave of criminal aggression, which leads to 4. More blowback. Lather, rinse, repeat. Al-Qaeda comes into existence in the first place because the United States, under President Jimmy Carter and his national security advisor, Zbigniew Brzezinski, which he is a CFR, Trilateral Commission, New World Order scumbag, supported an Islamic fundamentalist uprising that destabilized the pro-Soviet government of Afghanistan and the Reagan administration, subsequently backed by Mujahideen guerrillas against the Soviet invasion. All this was for the sake of bogging the Russians down in their own Vietnam. A move in the great game that Brzezinski, even after 9/11, said it was worth it. Another contributing factor to 9/11 was Operation Desert Shield and Storm, a war entirely engineered by the Bush's quiet encouragements to Saddam's invasion of Kuwait, which outraged many in the Islamic world by bringing American troops on the soil of Saudi Arabia, the home country of the holiest site of Islam, which is the Mecca to be exact. 9/11 was in turn a bonanza for the national security state, using terror attacks as a pretext. The American leadership was able to stampede Congress into rubber stamping the U.S. Patriot Act, granting police state powers comparable to those granted Hitler under the Enabling Act passed after the Reichstag fire, and 2 foreign wars along with a blank check to initiate other wars at will, used to legitimize Obama's intervention in Libya, Syria, and Kurdistan, among others. And people tell me Obama was in the middle of the road, George W. Bush is a lot worse. That's like next on Comedy Central. Alright, continue on here. Right up to the present, anyone opposing new military actions by the United States or suggesting that terrorist attacks of the past were blowback from previous U.S. interventions is labeled with a defeatist or worse. As Anywhere blogger Jennifer Abel put it, your annual 9/11 riddle, ravings of a feral genius, September 11th. Question, what's the difference between 9/11 and the cow? Answer, the government can't milk a cow for 14 years and counting. Pretty good, I like that. The Iraq War itself, in turn, has been the source of endless further blowback. And Al-Qaeda in Iraq, AQI, the guerrilla network that came into existence to combat American troops in Iraq and the Iraqi puppet regime set up by the United States, was entirely the result of American intervention. So is ISIS a far more radical offshoot of AQI that had its origins among Al-Qaeda prisoners of war in Iraq and the anti-Assad guerrillas trained by the U.S. and its allies in Syria? So we can add up the 1.5 million Iraqis killed in the actual Iraq War, the American troops sacrificed there, all murders and atrocities committed by ISIS against the Kurds, and the suffering of Syrian refugees now desperately fleeing to Europe to the butcher's bill racked up by the Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld, and by opportunists like Hillary Clinton, who knowingly aided and abetted them in deliberate murderous war of aggression to confiscate weapons of mass destruction they knew didn't exist. Of course, this didn't start even with the destabilization of Afghanistan. We can trace it back to the artificial division of a former Ottoman Empire into colonies, mandates after World War I, the British support for Zionist colonization in Palestine, U.S. support for the Saud's family wars of unification in the Arabian Peninsula, the U.S. overthrow Mossadegh, he was a prime minister of Iran or Persia, U.S. support for the Muslim Brotherhood against Nazir ad nauseum. The thing is, such blowback never seems to be blamed on its authors. In fact, they see it as a feature, not a bug, because they can use it as a new bloody shirt to stampede the American people who never seem to learn their lesson in supporting further American aggression. In fact, the leaders of the American state explicitly described the 9/11 attack as an enormous opportunity. For example, Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice, in the collapse of the Soviet Union and 9/11 bookend a major shift in international politics. Then it is a period not just as a grave danger, but an enormous opportunity. Before the clay is dry again, America and our friends and our allies must move decisively to take advantage of these new opportunities. And don't forget, Bush described it as a hitting the trifecta. So the perspective of the state failures of policy that result in massive casualties to the population they rule aren't failures at all. They're opportunities for further grants of still more power to abuse. Nicely done there, Mr. Carson. And I have to agree with him completely. Another part of the empire. A new world order platform. Club of Rome is really supporting this on what's happening. They see about the massive immigration movement because their people's countries are being bombed, destroyed. Their families are being wiped out. Of course, you have elements in these exodus that are considered possible sleeper cells, allegedly, or members of ISIS trying to probably go around all over Europe. Then they want to bring 10,000 of them over here. This is what the Club of Rome is about, my friends. Part of the New World Order umbrella. Let's bomb these nations, destabilize them. Everyone can flee and destroy all the cultures around the world. Rather, it's black, white, Asian, it doesn't matter. I know people talk about the white genocide that's happening with Europe, but the whole exodus of immigrants going in there. It's not speaking as a Nazi. This is just a prime example. If they say they destroy that entire culture or wipe out the particular group, who's next? Anyone else? That's called a domino effect. Here's the goal. Georgia Guidestones. They only want 500 million people living on this earth. Go there. It's near Atlanta, Georgia. Check it out. Look up Georgia Guidestones and go there yourselves. Look it up online. I'm not making this up. This is why, like I said before, and I always stress this, I support a republic, not an empire. And some of these neocons don't like it. I don't give a damn what you think. I don't. Neolibs too. Who cares? You're a bunch of quacks as far as I'm concerned. I'm not saying I'm better than you, but take the initiative and look at things a lot broader than listening to the cult of personalities, whatever paradigm you're in. This is why I get a little bit disturbed when I examine things a lot bigger and so forth, and people are up on the bandwagon and going on their war drums and climaxing that they're getting this orgasmic blitz and attacking another war. And I hear this a lot. And some of these people don't care. They just want to complain. They say my views are stupid. And you know what? And it bites them in the butt when they least expect it. We're going to blame themselves for not paying attention. So I could tell people for all these years, on the air, on the streets, family, friends, enemies, don't matter. Always pay attention. Examine things a lot broader. And of course, read that book, Blowback, once again. And, if you want to learn more about Zbigniew Brzezinski, read The Grand Chessboard. Hey, something to think about, my friends. Read it. You won't be disappointed. And that is all now, my friends. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to listen to this episode. Plus, feel free to download and share this through your social media network. If you have any comments, questions, compliments, love letters, hate letters, criticism, or if you want to send me some information that I could be interested in, always use it with decorum. You can hit me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker. Send your comments to iHeartRadio or hit me on YouTube. In addition, you can email me at LokiLuck3, which is all together, number 3 to be exact. LokiLuck3 is all together at gmail.com. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading the love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.